it's impossible to know what Yaxel Lendeborg's ceiling is going to be, Dibs. You don't win Summer League MVP and suddenly you change the trajectory of your career and now you think that you can be a 5-time All-Star or whatever it is. The one thing that I will say, Dibs, is I think it's pretty clear that he's ready to impact the Warriors in a positive way the second the regular season begins. And when it comes to, how successful a rookie season is, we oftentimes use points and rebounds and assists to determine it. That's how you get on all rookie teams and that sort of thing. Who knows if he's going to make an all-rookie team, Dibs, because a lot of things have to work out well in order for that to happen. I will say, though, I feel pretty confident that as a rookie, Yaxel Lendeborg will be one of the 5 most impactful rookies this season in the NBA.
You would hope so.
Because he's going to have a fair amount of minutes and opportunity to prove himself. He's going to be relied upon. And secondly, he's pretty clearly already looks like an NBA player. And that's half the battle for a lot of these guys who are still developing into who they're going to be when they get to 23, 24 years old.
You would think so, but like if you want to look at Rookie of the Year voting, a lot of that comes down to, what your numbers are based on, how much you play and how bad your team actually is. And so he has a chance to go out there and maybe be all rookie. Pods was all rookie, which is the last time the Warriors had somebody who was able to get that level. And it was Holmgren, Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, Jaime Jaquez Jr. and Pods. Yeah. That was your all-rookie team. Yeah. So can Yaxel be on the all-rookie team? You would hope so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But even if he's not, I still think he's going to – because, you get to award voting, and it's different for the rookie teams because rarely do you have – there will be moments where you have a really good rookie on a really good team, but usually the all-rookie performers are the highly drafted players that are on bad teams that get 35, 36, 37 minutes a night, get up 20 shots a night, and as a result, average 18 points per game. Oh, you're the rookie of the year. Cooper Flagg is obviously a really, really special talent, and he had a crazy positive influence on the Mavericks, but the team was so bad. So it's not like the MVP award where team success is mandatory usually to get the MVP award. But to be on an all-rookie team, the team could be terrible. You could be the worst team in the league. But if you're a rookie and you averaged 18 points per game, you're on the all-rookie team. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm expecting 18 points a night from Yaxel Lendeborg. I'm just saying, considering the kind of player that he is, the number of different ways that he can impact a basketball game, I expect him to have as much of a positive influence as almost any other rookie in the league this year because he can do a lot of the things that specifically the Warriors really, really need him to do. I'm high on Yaxel, and Summer League just kind of confirmed the way that I think the Warriors felt about him, but also what I thought about him coming out of Michigan.
Yeah, and we don't know what his ceiling would be, but if you want to just look at right now going into the season, who has the highest floor among that drafted class, it probably is Yaxel Lendeborg. As far as right now, who is the most polished player? If you were going to draft NBA players in that rookie class, just based on where they are right now, not what they're going to be eventually, but he might go number 1 overall. Now, DeBonsa and Boozer and Peterson and Acuff and, Wagler, who you love, and all the rest of them, they're all 19 years old. So if you think about their future, their upside is probably a lot brighter than Yaxel Lendeborg because at almost 24 years of age, I don't know how much better he can get. You mentioned his defense. He can become a better defender, and I think that he will become a better defender. He can become a better shooter, a better ball handler, all the rest of it. But these other guys who are 19, these rooks who are, unpolished and still trying to develop their game and still trying to develop their body, quite frankly. When you're 19 and you're DeBonsa, we don't know if he's going to wind up being 6'10", 240 or if he's going to continue to develop physically. But Lendeborg right now is probably as big and as physical as he's going to be.
The Boozer comp is an interesting one, or at least the matchup is an interesting one, because in a lot of ways, Yaxel Lendeborg is Boozer. He's just 4 years older?
Yep.
So because those are players that have similar skill sets, right? They are larger guys, but not quite large enough to be not anywhere near large enough to be a prototypical 5. They probably both at times will play some small ball 5. I really expect that with Cameron Boozer specifically for the Grizzlies. They're probably going to play most of their minutes at the 4, although I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Yaxel at the 3 a little bit as well. I think he can be a good enough shooter and ball handler to make it work at the 3. We shall see. 4 seems to be the likeliest fit in the Steve Kerr offense. But neither of them are going to wow you athletically. Yaxel's quick and he's fast, and when he, has the room and the space to leap, and he's strong. His dunks are powerful, but it's not like he's a crazy high flyer. Cam Boozer isn't that either. They're both very technically proficient, though, Dibs. They're very smart. They know what they want to do when the ball is in their hands. They can see passing lanes. They can see that ahead of time. They have good awareness of spacing. They're rarely in the wrong spot. They make the right play, whether it is to shoot, to pass, to dribble, whatever it is. They are very, very similar in that sense. The difference, and why Boozer went where he went, and why Lendeborg went where he went, is because of the age. That's really the only major difference. The point for Boozer is not only do you have extra years to get out of him, Lendeborg is, again, already much older than him, so his career theoretically will be shorter at the NBA level. But as a result of being younger, Boozer, you would think, has more room and time to grow, and maybe he becomes a better player than Lendeborg is right now when he gets to 23. But their skill set is very similar. It's just the difference of their age and how much better Boozer might get as a result of the youth that he has. But they're very similar players.
They're very similar, and I think that they're both big-bodied, stretch 3s or 4s if you want to play them that way. And I think that Boozer is a little bit thicker, and I think that Yaxel's a little bit more athletic as far as being able to step out and be more of a guy who could play the 3. Like, I don't look at Boozer and think, oh, you could play the 3. He's more of a 4/5, and I think that Yaxel's more of a 3/4, or like a 4/3. He's going to play the 4, but he can play the 3. And Boozer, if he is your 5, your center, well, that's probably not good enough, but he can play the 5 at times. But he is a prototypical 4, kind of like his dad was. And I do think that the fact that his last name is Boozer also led him to be drafted super high. I mean, the kid is a great player, but also you remember his dad, and I'm not sure if you remember his dad playing, but his dad was a monster playing for Utah.
On that Utah team that beat the We Believe Warriors.
That's right. And he was a guy who was, an old school 4, somebody who would go out there and get you 10 rebounds, and he could score.
Back to the basket, hit the little fadeaway.
Yeah, and so I think that Cameron has more of a face-the-basket game, and he can shoot the 3 somewhat. He doesn't shoot a lot of 3s, but he's a guy that you look at 19, and he already has that grown man body, and he's only 19.
Yeah. Like Yaxel was in the draft. Yaxel was the prospect that you say, and this is kind of generalized because he's 23, will be 24 as a rookie, but you say he's the most pro-ready right now. And that usually is code for, well, he's the oldest, right? That's usually the way that it works. Cam Boozer was one of however many freshmen that were drafted in this class, like so many of them, and specifically in the top 10.
Yep.
So many rookies, so many 19-year-olds that were drafted. He is the most pro-ready, you would think, of the rookies. He's the guy that's most ready to come in and impact a team in a positive way immediately. Doesn't mean that DeBonsa or Peterson can't do that, but you see his skill set and you say this immediately translates to the league. His sense of the game, his passing, his rebounding, just overall a really smart basketball player. That's what you see. At least that's what I see when I watch Cam Boozer play. I see the same thing with Yaxel Lendeborg as well. They do have some intricacies to their game, but I do think there is a similarity there. And if you were to ask me who is going to have the better rookie season, will it be Cam Boozer or will it be Yaxel Lendeborg? I guess it depends how you define, a successful rookie season. But in terms of the overall positive impact I would expect those guys to have on a team in their rookie year, I wouldn't expect them to be separated by all that much. And when you're the Warriors and you got Yaxel Lendeborg, 8 picks later after Cam Boozer went to the Grizzlies, like that's great value to get at the 11th overall pick. They're in a great spot, I think they are with Yaxel.
They're in a perfect spot, and honestly, what they needed was this. They didn't want to go out there and get another person who might be more of a project, and I'm thinking about Kareem Lopez, the kid who played in New Zealand, who is of Mexican heritage, somebody who
Nate Ament of Tennessee.
We don't know a lot about. I mean, Ament, I think, is another guy who he's got a lot of upside, maybe, but he doesn't have the game that is polished. Like Yaxel Lendeborg, we've seen him in summer, we saw him all year at Michigan, and he comes in exactly as advertised as the player that we thought he was. Now, he hasn't played an NBA game yet, so we don't know if it's going to translate. But when you look at what he's done in college at the highest level, in summer league against other top players, it's all been basically the same. He can score, he can rebound. The defense is good, but not elite just yet. He's smart, he can pass, he can go up and elevate at the rim and all the rest of it. And so I think that what you thought he was is exactly what you've seen. And so for the Warriors, that's what you need. You didn't want another Wiseman or Kuminga, somebody with this wild upside, but you don't really know what the ground floor would be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty. I wonder if, let's say the Kuminga and Wiseman picks worked out. Do you think they still would have attacked this draft the way that they did? Or was this a reaction and a learning experience from drafting quote unquote projects?
I think they would have gone about it the same way because, and let's just play this out where you have Moody and Wiseman and Kuminga, and they're all still on the team. And, they're all paid whatever they're paid, and you can afford them. And, Wiseman is like...
They hit on those picks? Wow.
Right, and Wiseman's the center that you thought he'd be. And, you've got Kuminga, who is developed into the player you thought, and Moody is basically what Moody has become. I still think that they would look for an experienced guy. But
like position, roster aside, just like the overall mindset of... high ceiling, high risk, high reward versus low risk, and maybe a little bit lower reward. I wonder what their mindset would be.
Well, I think just when you sit there at 11, and I don't know if you look at the draft and you look at any other player that went behind Lendeborg and think, yeah, that's a guy that, man, if we didn't have a team that needed somebody ready now, we would have looked at that player and taken them, knowing that they might be a draft and stash.
That guy for me was Braden Burries, who went 10th right before Yaxel.
Yeah, and they liked Braden Burries, and so that's a player that they probably would have taken. If Yaxel goes 10, then they take Burries at 11 or vice versa.
Cameron Carr maybe is the one that jumps out. He's the rookie that I think officially got drafted by the Knicks, but it was part of a trade. He's now a Laker, and he played in the Summer League for the Lakers, and he was really good in Summer League. He went a little bit later on, but that is one that I was also a fan of, probably the best shooter in the draft, and showed that at Summer League. But to your point, yeah, he's just... Like, you look at Wiseman as a prospect and you compare him to Yaxel Lendeborg, Dibs, they could not be more opposite. And I don't mean their play style. I just mean who they are when they got drafted. We're talking about James Wiseman, who played, if you can call it, 1 year of college basketball. It was
3 games.
Yeah, I was going to say 4. It wasn't even 4 games. 3 games.
It was like 80 minutes.
At Memphis.
Yep.
Was it even 80? I don't even know if it was 80 minutes.
It was around 80. It might be less than 80, but you're right.
Like... And you have this guy, Yaxel Lendeborg, who played 6 years of college basketball. Now, the majority of that not, at a high level, not at a great program. The last one was, and he won a national championship and was Michigan's best player, arguably, for the whole season. It's an entirely different plan. And maybe it was just as simple as reading the board and being like, well, given who's available at 11, we both think Yaxel is the safest pick and the best player left. So it's a home run, no questions asked. Let's make the pick. Remember that moment on draft night? It was shown on ESPN where Mike Dunleavy and Joe Lacob are talking, and there was the question of why is Joe Lacob upset? And the story that Mike Dunleavy ended up saying was he wasn't upset that they drafted Yaxel. He was upset they didn't draft Yaxel sooner, because you have 5 minutes or whatever it is to make your pick and to send it into the league. And Joe Lacob was upset they didn't send it in earlier. And Mike is just saying, Joe, we're going to get a couple more phone calls. Right. Let me just listen to all the trade offers, and then we will lock in the pick, because who knows, maybe we get a grandfather offer and we're willing to move off of the 11th overall pick. But apparently Joe Dibs was so excited about Yaxel that he wanted to send in the pick immediately. Screw other trade proposals. I want my guy Yaxel. That's how excited Joe Lacob was.
Right, and you can be excited, and you can also do what you're talking about, which is you could just wait, because somebody might call and say, we'll give you 3 firsts and, a really good rotational player for Yaxel Lendeborg, and then you listen to that, and maybe you wind up taking that offer. But, there's really no rush as long as you get the pick in. And I just thought that moment that was captured where, Lacob is animated about what he wants to do, and Mike Dunleavy's just kind of sitting there in the draft room. I thought that was kind of an unfortunate optic for Mike.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how that conversation went. Just, Joe, we're going to draft him,
right?
But other GMs are calling me. Let me just answer the phone calls, please.
Can I do my job? Like, can we go ahead and can you let me do my job?
Yeah, please get away from me.
Let me answer the phone call. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yep.
I mean, there was rumors that the Pelicans wanted back into the first round. Maybe they were going to offer you something great.
Trey Murphy
for just 2 picks instead of 3. Like, maybe that would have been something the Warriors would have wanted to do. I don't know, but yeah. It does seem like it's very early. Of course, he hasn't played a regular season, hasn't played a preseason second just yet. But it does seem like Yaxel Lendeborg is the guy the Warriors were expecting him to be. And he looked really good in Summer League. He helped the Warriors win the Summer League championship in Vegas. He averaged 15 points per game, about 7 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, and about 28 minutes, shot 46% from the field and almost 36% from downtown. Outdueled Cam Boozer yesterday in the title game, 21 points and 10 boards. So, Dub Nation, we're asking you, how excited are you for new Warriors rookie Yaxel Lendeborg? Just how excited are you, and what do you expect from him in his rookie season? 888-957-9570. Omar is in Alameda and wants to weigh in. What's up, Omar?
What's going on, guys? I'm actually really not excited.
Oh.
To me, Yaxel reminds me of Danny Granger. If you remember Danny Granger with the Pacers.
He was a hell of a player. You think that's a bad thing?
He was a hell of a player, but he was not a star. I would rather have Paul George, when they played together. And the player that reminds me of that, obviously the Warriors couldn't get him, is Caleb Wilson. That kid's going to be special. You remember his name. I think he could be like a Kevin Durant type of player at 6'10", 6'11". And, you look at DeBonsta, he could be like a T-Mac. And then you look at the other guys. Boozer, to me, is a bust. You guys are going to remember this taking 2 or 3 years. His game is very one-dimensional, and at the same time, he's not that skilled in the paint to be an enforcer like his dad was, Carlos Boozer. When I look at Cam Boozer, he kind of reminds me like of a Jared Sullinger or like a Glenn Davis, just a little bit more stocky and built. And I honestly think if he didn't have the last name Boozer, he wouldn't have went in the lottery. When I look at him, I think he's not that good compared to the other players like Caleb Wilson, DeBonsta, they obviously good players. A-Cuff, what's the other kid? Derek Peterson, he could be like a Ray Allen type of player when he first came in Milwaukee. But I think the Warriors made a bad pick because Yaxel, you already see what you're going to get with him.
Yeah, Omar.
But Omar, who was taken after him that you would want to look at? You can look at all the guys taken ahead of him. And you mentioned Caleb Wilson, and I agree with you, but the Warriors had no chance to get him. So who was taken after Yaxel that you think is going to be better than him?
I would have traded up. I would have packaged some deals, traded up, and try to give me one of them young players. Try to get a Caleb Wilson or try to get that kid Wagner that went to the Clippers. Because in 2 to 3 years when Curry and Draymond and all the old Yaxel is not a building block. Yaxel is not a superstar. He's just another guy. He's another Harrison Barnes, Danny Granger type of player. And I think the Warrior fans are going to be disappointed in 2 to 3 years.
All right, Omar. All right, I appreciate the call. I mean, look, if Danny Granger is a disappointment, then I don't know. I think we're all going crazy. The dude in his career averaged 17 points per game, was an all-star as a 25-year-old fourth-year player, averaged 26 points per game that year on 40% shooting from downtown. Danny Granger had a great career. He got overshadowed later in his career when Paul George came in and took over. Yeah, Paul George's star power was 10 times that of Danny Granger. It does not mean Danny Granger is a bad player. I also think Danny Granger and Yaxel aren't the same kind of player. I will say, though, if Yaxel Lendeborg has a career similar to Danny Granger did in terms of numbers and quality of player, it will be an absolute home run of a pick at number 11.
You'll take it. And I was just looking, too. Danny Granger got taken number 17, and that was back in 2005. And, the league and the game is different than it was back in 2005. So I think that Yaxel is a different player because you have to be now. You can't just be a guy playing bully ball like, Danny Wood or even, Carlos Boozer, the aforementioned Boozer father, he played a certain way that you can't play anymore.
Yeah. And, to our caller's point, I know you're a fan of Caleb Wilson. I'm also a huge fan of Caleb Wilson. I think his injury for the second half of the season at North Carolina really, I think, changes the perception in a lot of fans' minds of who this guy is, because most of us that are into the NBA probably don't watch college basketball year-round. We maybe lock in for conference tournaments and then the NCAA tournament. You didn't see any of Caleb Wilson because he was hurt. Did not play at all for North Carolina in March Madness. So you don't really know who this guy is. And you say, well, why is he going 4th overall? And you watch just a second of him in Summer League for the Bulls, and you immediately realize, oh, that's why. The dude is really, really good. I would have taken him before I took Cam Boozer. I would have taken him. I would have considered taking him before Darren Peterson as well. Maybe I'm crazy in that sense. I'm just a huge fan of Caleb Wilson, but we'll see how it all plays out.